Hello, I'm Karen Seitz, and this is the Happy Wife School. This podcast is for married women to realize that we are responsible for our happiness, that no one and no thing can make us happy, and that our husbands are not the source of our unhappiness. In each episode, I red pill married women to know that we are the problem in our marriages to good men. For the good men, this podcast will wake you up to the realities of your wife's woman ways, to take back the power you've unknowingly given away to her emasculation in a constructive, caring way. Before we dive into today's episode, a couple reminders. My message is meant for common and usual marital issues. My podcast is not intended for abusive, violent, or compulsive behaviors in a marriage that are threatening or dangerous. Also, please take a second to visit my website and learn more about my courses, which offer solutions for married women and good men. You can find the link in the description below. With all that being said, let's get started. The truth about your marriage: your wife is the one who is emotionally disengaged. Why I want to talk about this is I talked with a man this week who is struggling with his wife constantly telling him that he's emotionally unavailable, that she doesn't feel emotionally secure or supported with him, and he is a good man trying to do everything that she's asked him to do, and it's never enough, and the goalpost keeps moving. And I helped him to see she's the one that's emotionally unavailable, and she is gaslighting you and projecting onto you that it's you, and realize that this would be a great topic to share, because men are so brainwashed to believe that they are the ones who are emotionally inept, disconnected, and unavailable. And that hope happens both from their wives, but also because of our society. Our society constantly reinforces that men are emotionally unavailable, that they're not as attuned to their emotions as women, that they just shove it down, cut it off, and are emotionally disconnected, and that women are the ones who are emotionally attuned, emotionally available, the emotional support for the family, the glue of the family, because of our nurturing, loving, empathetic ways, and that men have a lot to learn from women and our ability to emotionally connect and be there for others. Essentially, we, as women, we have fooled society. We have fooled society with our victim stories, painting our husbands and men as the problem, and society buying in to those victim stories. It's like the biggest dupe on our world and society is that women are the emotionally available ones, and it is actually the exact opposite. So the first place that I want to go is defining what it means to be emotionally unavailable. Being emotionally unavailable is when a person lives in a universe of one and does not allow people into their emotional self. They push love away. When we take that definition and we apply it to us as women in our marriages with our husbands, being emotionally unavailable is when, as women or as a wife, we live in a universe of one. We do not allow our husbands into our emotional self, and we push our husband's love away. For the good men listening, this is why your wife says something along the lines of, I don't feel loved by you, or you don't love me the right way. It's where the love languages are born out of, and why your wife wants you to use the love languages, because she doesn't feel loved. And if you just spoke her love language, she would feel loved and you would have the emotional intimacy that she craves. But regardless of how you speak her love language or do the things she asks to love her the right way, it is never enough. She makes you wrong and bad in it and further pushes you away. It is because we are the ones who are emotionally unavailable. It is not our husbands, because a good man's nature is loving, kind, caring, craves emotional intimacy with his wife, and is constantly pushed away, told he's wrong, made to be bad, and made into the problem in the relationship. And some good men will keep trying and trying and trying and trying and never give up. And other good men, because of how they have been pushed away and rejected and told that they are wrong and bad, do give up and withdraw and pull away. I imagine there are some good men listening right now that say, I don't know, Karen. I'm pretty distant and checked out in my relationship. I see the things my wife says in terms of me being withdrawn and not connected to her. And if you are a good man and your nature is loving, kind, caring, just want your wife to be happy and just want the connection you thought marriage was supposed to be that you never get, you need to understand that it is the emasculation, the gaslighting, the manipulation from your wife, her constantly making you wrong, constantly shaming you for who you are, constantly letting you know that you are never enough. Anything that you bring up to try to say, hey, this is how I'm feeling in the relationship, she gaslights you to tell you why that's wrong, what's really going on, and then you get sucked into that crazy making. And eventually, over time, you give up and you withdraw and you become distant and aloof in the relationship because you're constantly given the message that you're not enough, that it's not right enough, you're not doing anything right in the relationship. And the goal of your wife in that is to push you away, to get you to be withdrawn, to get you to be emotionally disconnected in the relationship so that she can point the finger out and tell you how you are the problem, and it validates her victim story. So you have to begin to see through what's actually happened. And you can think back to yourself and who you were in the beginning of the relationship to see yourself as engaged, connected, wanting to share a life and an emotional connection with your wife, and look back and see how you were in the beginning to where you are today, to see the truth of your experience and your relationship. The essence of being emotionally unavailable is a disconnection from ourselves. The essence of being emotionally unavailable as a woman and a wife in our marriages is a disconnection from ourselves. Why? Why as women do we become so disconnected from ourselves and emotionally unavailable in our marriages? It comes down to our walls. I have never worked with a woman, spoke with a woman who does not know that she has walls and that she has been building walls her whole life since she began getting hurt, emotionally hurt. And she began to put walls up and push others away. Our walls in our marriages as women become very thick, very tall, and often wrapped in barbed wire. And the person who gets the brunt of our emotional hurt that we have been storing and holding on to behind our walls is our husbands. Our walls are the mechanism to stay emotionally disconnected and unavailable. And the ultimate reason for our walls is because we are so afraid to feel and so afraid to be vulnerable. It is again, one of the biggest dupes we've done on society that men are afraid to feel, men are afraid to be vulnerable, when that's what a good man genuinely wants in his marriage and relationship with his wife, is the ability to feel, to have that connection with his wife, and to have emotional vulnerability, for it to be a safe environment for them to be with their wives and be emotionally connected, to not be afraid to feel and be willing to be vulnerable. But our walls make that impossible. And the reason for our walls is the hurt, the emotional hurt that we've held on to in our lives, that then we perceive feeling and vulnerability as emotional pain. And for us as women, it goes back to the first time that we ever felt emotional hurt and pain, that we ever got our hearts broken. And somewhere in us, we said, we are never letting that happen again. And we begin to guard our hearts and build our walls, disconnecting from ourselves and pushing others away. And then we get married, and our husband gets the worst of our walls. So we're afraid to feel anything that we could perceive as emotional pain. And what begins to happen is that not only difficult feelings, but even good feelings, feeling good about ourselves, having fun, being silly like we used to in the beginning of the relationship, we begin to falsely perceive all feeling, all vulnerability as emotional pain. And because we are pain avoiders, we do everything we can to not have to feel. And I know right now some of you are thinking, but Karen, women are so emotional. What do you mean that you're afraid to feel? What do you mean you're pain avoiders? It doesn't make sense. You're so emotional. And that's where we have to understand there is a difference between being emotional and actually feeling. Being emotional is actually a way to avoid feeling. Being emotional is a way to avoid feeling. It's why for both the women listening and for the men, but men, when you bring up an issue with your wife and something that you would like for her to work on and something you would like for her to change, the waterworks start. And she starts crying. That is a defense mechanism of her walls to push you away and make you feel wrong and bad for bringing something up and asking her to change something and even suggesting there's something she needs to change. And it's a way for her to not have to feel the vulnerability of her flaw or shortcoming, or that there's something she actually needs to work on and change. It's very vulnerable to be confronted with our shortcomings and actually take accountability for them. So that's why we turn the tears on to manipulate you, to get you to back off and to push you away, so we don't have to feel the uncomfortable feelings that we made a mistake or we're not showing up in a way that's constructive to the relationship or to the family. And that's why we start crying. It's a manipulation tool to hide behind our walls, and it has nothing to do with feeling. Feeling is not emotional. It's not a lot of crying. It's a slowing down and connecting with ourselves to experience what we are feeling, not emote. Emoting is the opposite of feeling, and it's a way to avoid the perceived emotional pain of actually slowing down and being in touch with our emotional experience. So coming back to our walls, after explaining the difference between being emotional and feeling, because I know that can be confusing, but coming back to our walls is understanding that's what allows us to disconnect from ourselves, allows us to not have to genuinely feel, and it leaves us feeling empty, lost, and numb. And what we have to understand as women, what good men need to understand in their experience from their wives, is even if, in the context of our marriage, even if we say or do something seemingly nice or loving, or something that would require emotional intimacy and connection, it feels flat, empty, and performative. So some men are married to women that can hold the nice facade longer in a marriage, and it's very confusing of she does nice things. She plays the part of a good wife, but I can't feel her. She seems really far away or still cold. And then you begin to think you're crazy, because anyone from the outside looking in would say, what are you talking about? But good men have to learn to trust the feeling you have and the emptiness behind it, to know that's your wife's walls and pushing you away and being emotionally disconnected in the marriage, because she doesn't actually want to feel, because of the fear of getting hurt and letting somebody in, or even letting herself in. Because in order to feel and let another in, she has to be connected to herself. And we have effectively disconnected ourselves by hiding behind our walls and building our walls. Another reason that we avoid accountability and responsibility is, remember, our walls are there so that we don't have to feel, we don't have to be vulnerable. And inherent in taking accountability for our part and role in the issues, inherent is a vulnerability. Taking accountability and true responsibility for ourselves is a vulnerable experience. In order to genuinely take responsibility, we must actually slow down, admit our behavior, and that it's our behavior, not something that has happened to us, and to admit that we were wrong and make a commitment to follow through and change. That inherent in that requires feeling and vulnerability. Many times, those of you who have been around a while and listening to my message see me get vulnerable in talking about myself and the issues and patterns I have had to see in my marriage, because that's the only way to change them, is being honest. I'm not here on a pedestal pointing and looking down at women saying, this is who you are and you need to change. No, I'm sharing from my own lived experience. And the reason I get vulnerable sometimes in sharing my own shortcomings and the things I've had to look at and continue to look at, including my own emotional unavailability and my walls that can still come up in my marriage, is because it requires me to feel and experience myself in that place, which is how I take responsibility and then can change. And why I share from my own experience is to be able to relate with other women and hopefully pull you in to help you see yourselves and know that, yes, it's vulnerable, but it's not scary. It's vulnerable to see ourselves. It's vulnerable to feel. It's vulnerable to take responsibility, but it's not scary and it doesn't hurt. What is scary and what hurts is living behind our walls and perceiving our husbands as not there for us and creating them to be this person that they aren't. That's scary. Being disconnected from ourselves and not having a self there to help guide us through our marriage and through life and the challenges, that's scary. That's hurtful to ourselves and to our husbands. I'm here to tell you that dropping your walls and allowing yourself to feel, allowing yourself to be truly vulnerable, allowing yourself to see where you've made a mistake, allowing yourself to see and admit and own your woman ways isn't scary and it doesn't hurt. It actually sets you free and feels really good. I feel good about myself when I'm willing and able to take the flashlight out and see the behaviors I have as a woman and continue to work on them and outgrow them. That builds confidence. That builds security in oneself. That builds trust in oneself, so that then you can feel secure with your husband as a good man and trust him as a good man and walk alongside him in the dance. It is our walls and living behind our walls that is very scary, because then we're not living in a reality. We are living in a projection. Our walls allow us to project onto our husbands the very things we say that they are: distant, emotionally uncaring, emotionally unavailable, not present, unwilling to be vulnerable, unwilling to allow themselves to have deep conversations and feel and be emotionally intimate and connected. All the things that we say our husbands are not, or what they're doing in the relationship, is a projection of who we are as women in our marriages, living with our walls and pushing our husbands away. And from that place, we have no ability to see ourselves and how we are showing up as emotionally distant, withdrawn, disconnected, unavailable, a lack of emotional intimacy, no connection with our husbands. That's the reality of how we are showing up that we don't want to see and project onto our husbands. In our projection and behind our walls and living in that scary false reality, we also can't see how hurtful we are to our husbands. We have no self-awareness to see the hurt and pain we are causing from being so shut down internally, living behind our walls, and then projecting onto our husbands the very ways that we are showing up in an unhealthy way in the marriage. We're so shut down to our own feelings that we're incapable of seeing the hurt, because it would cause us to have to feel and be vulnerable and admit our own shortcomings and our own wrongs in the relationship. And then we would have to have remorse and empathy for our husbands and the ways we have caused them to feel crushed and heartbroken and discarded and pushed aside in the relationship. So where I would like to go next, to make it very clear that it's us as women in their marriage with a good man that's emotionally unavailable, we're going to talk about 20 signs your wife is emotionally unavailable. This list started out as 10 and it turned into 20. And I think we could have even stretched it to 30, 40, 50, maybe even 100. Because there are so many signs in a marriage of ourselves as women being emotionally unavailable. So this list is a red pill moment for women who are living in the story that it's your husband who is emotionally unavailable. And it's a red pill moment for good men to know it's not you. You're not the one who's emotionally disengaged and emotionally unavailable. It's your wife. So for the women listening, you don't want to listen to this saying, that's not me. You want to listen to this of which ones of these do I know myself in? And to know if you know yourself in even one of these. It shows you that you're emotionally unavailable in your marriage with your husband. So number one, to know your wife is emotionally unavailable. Number one, she is not open to your thoughtful, kind words toward her. You praise her. You give her a compliment. You tell her how much you love her and how special she is to you. And it falls on deaf ears. She goes cold. She gets annoyed and she brushes you off. Number two, She pushes you away when you show her physical affection. So you come up to give her a hug or give her a kiss or just touch her on her arm, and she jerks or recoils or pushes your hand off of her. That is a way to know she is emotionally unavailable, meaning emotionally disconnected from herself and having walls to push you away. Number 3, to know your wife is emotionally unavailable. Number 3, she's a fun vacuum. Your wife is a fun vacuum. She sees any fun happening and she turns that vacuum on and sucks it all out of the room. Or you go to do something that's supposed to be fun and she's like, and you can tell she's faking it and not letting herself have fun, because if we let ourselves have fun, we would actually have to feel in good feelings. But with our walls and being emotionally disconnected, we can't feel anything or any feeling we are afraid of. Number 4, to know your wife is emotionally unavailable. She is shut down to sex. If your wife is shut down to sex, that is your clue that she is emotionally unavailable. Because again, if we allowed ourselves to be open to the experience of sex, it's an emotional experience. It's an emotional experience and connection with our husbands. So we're either the starfish and just like, yeah, let's get it over with, or we push it out completely, or our husbands can feel we're just checking the box. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, we did it. I did it. I had sex with you. What are you complaining about? But it's still unsatisfying because there's no emotional connection, because we're emotionally unavailable, because we don't want to feel. Number 5, she has no empathy when you are struggling or having a hard time. So say you're having struggles at work. Say you got let go. Say you're having challenges with your family, or a parent gets sick or is going through something tough. She is put out and wants you to just get over it. You can feel the impatience in her of like, just, why are you having such a hard time with this? She has no ability to have empathy, because in order to have empathy, you have to actually connect and feel inside of you what the other person is experiencing. And because we have emotionally disconnected from ourselves, we don't want to feel anything, then we can't have empathy for our husbands and what they're feeling or what they're going through. That's why you get the feel or the response essentially of just get over it. What's going on? Why are you making such a big deal out of this? Or we fake empathy. And again, you can feel she's not there and she's just doing it as a performance of what she knows she needs to do or is supposed to do, but you feel no empathy from her. Which again, can be confusing, because then you think, what's wrong with me? And you think it's you, but no, it's her. Number 6, you are the last on her list of priorities, and she has no genuine interest in you and what you have going on or what you would like to do. She can't let you in because then she'd have to feel. So that's why you're on the bottom of her priority list. And she doesn't take interest in you because she'd have to be emotionally connected and available. And she's not. Number 7, she is selfish, self-centered, and lives in a universe of one. She only thinks of herself. She cannot consider you and what's important to you or be thoughtful of you, because then she'd have to let herself feel. So she stays in her universe of one, disconnected and emotionally unavailable. Number 8, she is emotionally dysregulated. You never know what mood she will be in. She's highly sensitive and up and down in her mood. Number 9, she is caught up in other people's drama and in the lives of others. So she's always talking about what so-and-so has going on and the drama in their life or the problems that her family is having. And she stays wrapped into the drama of other people. Again, so she doesn't have to be engaged with herself and have to be connected and feel her own life and her own priorities. Number 10, to know your wife is emotionally unavailable, you constantly walk on eggshells. You're constantly walk on eggshells. You're afraid to walk in the door. What are you coming home to? You're afraid to question anything or bring up issues because you will poke the bear and she will turn into a rage. Number 11, she is really busy and constantly in a go, go, go mode. She has a full calendar always. She never has time for anything or you because she is so busy. That's a way for us to escape our lives and disconnect. That's why we're so busy. It's why we're so sped up and on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing always. She can't sit down. She can't relax. She can't sit and watch a movie with you. There's always something she's got to be doing. Because if we slow down, we would feel. Number 12, to know your wife is emotionally unavailable. She is always on her phone, scrolling, and checked out on social media. Number 13, she has a lot of friends. She has a lot of friends. So as we get older as women, the purpose of having a lot of friends and a lot of people we got to keep up with is, again, to disconnect from our own lives, disconnect from ourselves, and have a distraction. Number 14, she is controlling and rigid and has to have things done her way. Because if it's done any other way and she's not in control, then she would feel how out of control she feels and what's going on internally. So we are controlling to have a sense of control and to not have anything disrupt our lives. So we don't have to feel. We want our lives to look like this, just a straight line, no disruption, because if there's a disruption, we would have to feel. Number 15, she's emotional and cries easily. So in being emotional, it's a way to disconnect from what she's feeling. And it's a way to manipulate our husbands to get them to back off or to create our story of how sensitive we are and why we need more from them to feel loved. That's never enough. And we stay emotional to not have to be connected. So I know that can be confusing, but being emotional is a sign of being emotionally unavailable. In that, she might also live in a lot of worry and anxiety about what could go wrong or the future or the state of the world. Number 16, she's very skinny and preoccupied with her looks. So she's on the high maintenance side of her looks, and she might be a health nut and overly involved with healthy eating, exercising, or doing things like a lot of yoga. And she's obsessed with how she looks and obsessed with being skinny. And that's a way to not have to feel and to have another distraction in our lives to be emotionally unavailable. Number 17, on the flip side of that, she's put on weight and does not take care of her looks. So she was fit when you got married, and then she stopped caring for her body and her health and put on weight as a way to have walls and to push you away and to not have to feel. And that she might also wear sweats or unattractive clothing and not get ready for the day. Number 18, to know your wife is emotionally unavailable. She has what I call a happy pill. That in spite of what she's feeling or the challenges in life, she presents herself to the outside world as outgoing, positive, sweet, and just a wonderful person. And everyone thinks she is just the greatest thing. And it's actually a sign of being emotionally disconnected that she has to present this facade. And then you know her as either someone totally different in the relationship. The facade comes down and it's like everyone thinks she's so wonderful. They're going to think I'm crazy if I said I was having these experiences of her being cold or distant or treating me poorly, because she's created that happy pill facade. She might still have that happy pill facade in the relationship. And what that can look like is she cheerleads you through problems and puts a positive spin on anything you are struggling with and dismisses your feelings and challenges. We'll tell you, well, look at it this way. Well, maybe, if you just saw it through this lens, then you could see why it's a good thing that this happened and you won't feel this way. So she never wants you to feel anything negative or challenging, and wants you to just snap out of it, slap a smile on your face, and keep moving forward. That's because she doesn't want to have to feel and be emotionally connected. Number 19, she can't be wrong. She always has to be right. If we're wrong, then we have to feel the vulnerability of being wrong, which just means incorrect. So we always have to be right. And number 20, to know your wife is emotionally unavailable. She is disconnected from her role as a mother. So she doesn't show basic love and connection. She's always stressed out. She's running around yelling. She doesn't have compassion when the kids are going through a tough time or going through the things we go through as kids. And she is disconnected from her role as a mother. That can also look like always being on her phone. She takes the kids to the park or goes somewhere and she just sits there on her phone. Another sign of her being emotionally unavailable. And those are the 20 signs that your wife is emotionally unavailable, so that you can know it's not you, it's her. And she's just brainwashed you to believe it's you because you're a man and society reinforces it, that you're the one who is emotionally unavailable. So now I want to talk a little bit about the solution. I'll talk to women first and then men. The solution for women in overcoming our emotional disconnection, overcoming our walls, and being emotionally available in our marriage, we have to get out of camp victim. We have to get out of camp victim. The reason that we are emotionally unavailable and live behind walls is because what we have perceived to have been done to us in life that has hurt us and wronged us. And we don't go through life embracing the emotional pain and hurt that comes with life, the challenges that come with life, to grow and learn from them and stay open in life, not being afraid of life or seeing it as hurting us, but actually taking responsibility for our own emotional experience and stopping blaming others for how hurt we've been. In this case, we have to get out of camp victim in our marriages. The reason our walls are so sky high with our husbands is we have begun to blame them for all of our hurt and unhappy experiences in ourselves and make them the problem. So that's why we put our walls up to them. You've hurt me. You've created me to be this way. You've made me feel this way. And blame them. So we have to get out of camp victim and the blame and move into camp take responsibility to see how we are creating our own experience, that we're the cause of our unhappiness and miserableness, not our husbands. And when you get out of camp victim, that's how you begin to drop your walls and connect to yourself. And then you have a totally different lens through which you see your husband. And you can learn to be vulnerable and open up to him and be connected in the relationship, showing up as yourself. The only way to drop our walls, the only way to be open to vulnerability and emotional connection to ourselves and our husbands is to get out of camp victim and stop the blame game and learn to take responsibility for our own experiences. The solution for men, you have to know that there is nothing you can do to emotionally re-engage your wife. There is nothing you can do to emotionally re-engage your wife. The more you try, the higher her walls will go up and the more she will push you away. It will make things worse. The only way for her to emotionally re-engage is for her to see the truth of her behaviors and how she is showing up in the relationship, and then she has to make the choice to want to change and emotionally re-engage. Men also have to know you've done nothing to cause the walls to go up. The walls were already there. We started building them from a young age, the first time we ever got hurt. And they came down in the beginning because she wanted the marriage and the relationship. And then once she couldn't hold the facade and keep the walls down, the walls went right back up. They were already there. You didn't cause them. And it doesn't mean you're perfect. It doesn't mean you haven't made mistakes. But a good man's intention is not to hurt. He doesn't want to hurt his wife. Does he make mistakes? Sure. Does he respond and react to our walls? Yeah. But it's not from a place to be intentionally hurtful. A good man can forgive and forget very easily. But as women, we hold on to our hurts and use them to build our walls and then push you away and gaslight you to be the problem. You have to know you didn't cause the walls. She built the walls. And they started a long time ago. So good men need to know that who you are out in the world, when you go to work, when you're interacting outside of the relationship, and you're kind and caring and easygoing and easily connected to others, that's the real you. And who you are in your relationship, if you've become distant and emotionally withdrawn from your wife, it's a result of the gaslighting and who she's emasculated you to be in the relationship. You don't want to be a victim to that. You want to learn to understand what's happening and take yourself back for the sake of you and not give your wife the power to do that to you any longer. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen today. If you haven't, go check me out on YouTube, Rumble, and X. You can find the links in the description below to connect with me there. For those women listening who know you are the problem and want a path forward to take responsibility and change your own inner turmoil and unhappiness, I have a course for women called the Happiness Program, which is the solution to the unhealthy relationship you have with yourself and the issues and challenges you have in your life and your marriage. You can find the link in the description below to apply for a free consultation with me. And for the good men listening who want a solution to take back the power you've unknowingly given away to your wife, I have a course for you too called the Marriage Rescue Course for Good Men Only that teaches you how to rebuild your strength and confidence as a good man so that you can navigate the relationship with your wife in a healthy, constructive way. Again, you can find the link in the description below to apply for a free consultation with me. Thank you again so much for listening, and I look forward to talking with you soon.